Alright, guys, so we are back to plate racing. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, that's right. For the first time in 30 years, there are no plates at Talladega. So, I don't know what to expect, but let's talk about it. I'm Darian Gilliam, and this is the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
Green flag. I'll roll him. He's flipping me out. Ah! And yeah, boys, how about that? They cut. Push it in the wall. He drew it off the track. Baby, that's how you do it. Yeah, baby, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And our special guest for today's show is James, aka I Want to Believe NASCAR. How's it going, man? Yeah, good to have you on, man. One of the up-and-coming YouTubers in the entire community. Be on the lookout. You're gonna hear and see more of his channel in the future. So definitely like his content. Glad you're on here. All right, so let's get right into it. Obviously, let's start off with the somber note here. Oh crap! Oh my gosh! My
You
bad.
left us
I
muted.
left you guys muted.
You
Dang
left-
it!
you
Oh,
left us
dang
muted.
it! Dang it, guys! Oh my gosh! I'm
We're
so
trying
sorry.
to-
Oh, sorry.
We're trying to be
All right.
professional here.
Restart. Sorry about that. I knew I was forgetting something. Okay, let's do this again. Sorry, chat. I'm so sorry, chat. So you can put that in bloopers or whatever. Put that in. Put that on the. Put that on the clips channel, Jarrett. My bad.
Another Darian meme. Here we
Wow.
go.
Yeah. What else is new? Okay, so let's restart it. We are joined today by James, aka I Want to Believe NASCAR. How's it going again?
Pretty good. Everybody who gets their holiday copy of this on VHS, you'll be on the lookout for these bloopers.
Oh yeah.
We got special features.
Yeah, the SoundCloud listeners, they are going to be pissed. That's for sure. All right.
Yeah, the beauty of always being live.
Yeah. All right. So let's get right into it. Let's start off with with some very sad news. Thoughts and prayers go out to the entire Earnhardt family. Unfortunately, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s mother, Brenda Jackson, died of cancer. Correct? I just want to
Yes.
make sure I'm right. I just want to make sure I'm right with that. She was 65. Came as a bit of a shock. I really didn't hear anything about it publicly, but that's just me. I don't know if you guys did, but definitely it sucks. It sucks to lose one parent, and unfortunately now he's lost both. So hopefully he's doing well and find some solace in that loss and stuff. So thoughts and prayers out to him and his entire family. All right. Let's get started off with this article from Racing News. Basically, I think I've heard this like 3 or 4 times this year. NASCAR is admitting to their mistakes. What? Who would have known? So basically, what the article discussed is that it's looking to return to its roots in 2021. Steve Phelps even said, "I think we chased a new fan at the expense of the existing one. We'll never do that again." Well, I'll believe it when I see it. So Jarrett, what are your thoughts on this?
One, I think I will say it's something different, especially for the history we've had with Brian France and his regime, and how basically nobody admitted to anything, even if it was completely wrong. So I mean, I like that they're at least willing to say something, but until I personally see some returning to those roots, whether it just be with cars, schedule, whatever. And I know that there are some contractual obstacles there, but until I see anything substantial, I would just say that it's lip service for now. But I would love to be proven wrong, and I will be it when I am proven wrong, because I'm really hoping. I think at one point I will be, but when I'm proven wrong, I will admit it here. I'm really hoping I am. But until then, I say it's just lip service.
When they were talking about, when he was talking about, oh, we're gonna return to our roots, like, I had a lot of ideas going on in my head there. So I'm thinking, first thing I'm thinking is, okay, more short tracks, obviously going back to the roots, and just maybe no more playoffs. I don't know. That's probably a long shot to even think about that. But I mean, I don't think that's probably not going to happen. But when he was alluding to returning to roots, that's what I thought. That's what I thought about there. Eric, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's echoing what we've heard Jim France say. He's like, we got to get NASCAR back to basics. We didn't really know exactly what that meant, but with them trying to add short tracks, always talking about short tracks, we thought, okay, that's part of it. Obviously, they're really excited to get the Gen 7 car ready, whatever that may be. I do find it interesting because this whole, we chase the casual fan. We're not going to do that again. We're going to stick with the hardcore fans that we already have. That they've already kind of gone against that mentality by introducing the aero package we've seen this year at intermediates. And based off of, I think it was Steve O'Donnell said recently that they've liked what they've seen from this aero package this year. I'll put it this way. I don't think hardcore NASCAR fans want low horsepower like this long term. I think a decent amount of fans, including myself, were okay with it for a 2-year stretch while we just get rid of this Gen 6 car and just try to make those Texas and Kansas races watchable. I was okay with it, but long term, I don't think we'd want that. So hearing them say, we need to get back to basics, we need to get back to our roots, but then saying, we like this revolutionary and controversial aero package that a lot of our old school fans don't like, still contradicts itself. So I still don't fully understand where NASCAR is headed. But it is nice that they're communicating more. I mean, we've already heard in the last 12 months, we've heard NASCAR say a lot more directly to the fans than they ever did during Brian France's era. So I give them a lot of credit for that. I think they are listening to the fans. Unfortunately, I think the fan base is giving them a lot of mixed signals. And that's why I'm still not really confident when we try to predict what NASCAR is going to do in the future schedule-wise. I think they do want more short tracks. I think that is guaranteed. But a lot of other stuff is still very just loose and kind of up in the open. So I don't know. There's still a lot of questions, I'd say.
James?
Oh, I've got so many questions. But like a big question to think about is like Steve Phelps, as Eric alluded to, there's a split in the fan base, and NASCAR is not going to listen to all the fans online. If, as Steve O'Donnell's alluded to, if you're not at the track, your voice doesn't really matter in their eyes. And that's one aspect to think about. But as far as where they're chasing their fans, they've definitely been chasing the wrong fan for quite a number of years. They've either tried to go for this really young market that's missed us, which we are the core market that really needed to be hit on a few years ago with Brian France's regime. And he did a solid job initially with the chase and everything and the new ideas. But, if we know anything about NASCAR, is they're always going to change something. So let's look for some changes. Let's see what's going to happen. But speculation right now. I agree with you guys. Just got to wait and see.
Yeah, I sort of agree with all you guys on that one. Go ahead.
It's just with the whole mixed signals thing too. It's like even with I'd say both the fans have given mixed signals, but I'd say the sanctioning body in general has, because they start propping up Gen 7 as this complete overhaul of not only the car but just the sport in general. Okay, that can I guess go towards getting back to basics, but at the same time, they have said out loud that they want to go more towards entertainment, which in no way, in my opinion, is going towards what the back to basics old school NASCAR fan. I mean, and again, this might be kind of fracturing too what I think, but what I think is if you fix the cars and just fix the racing in general, which is a lot harder doing than saying, I honestly think that sort of corrects itself. You at least correct to get back to hardcore racing fans getting back, because I feel like, for me, I'm not a big fan of this championship format, but I still like to watch because I like watching good racing. And I still, to this day, think that NASCAR has the best racing out there, at least on a large scale. I think that if they just continue to improve the product and not more or less go towards a racing and not entertainment aspect, I think that would just be a problem that would, like, that being fixed there would then fix other problems, in my opinion.
And nothing's more entertaining than an actual good race. I mean, that's what sells people, and entertainment factor for sure is watching a good race.
I don't know, there's so much disconnect with the sanctioning body and its fans. I mean, go look at the video from last week where they talk about, we like the 2019 package. Dislikes heavily outweigh the likes on that video, and the comment section, oh my god, it was just a mess there. But I think this year, like in early February, NASCAR was talking about like there was an article talking about, oh, there was a huge disconnect, and I mean this article basically sort of alluded to that in a much different way here, more detailed in my opinion. So I don't know. Once again, until actions speak louder than words. So we'll have to wait and see what NASCAR's actions are in the next couple of years. All right. So go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I do like the statement from whoever it was, I think it was Phelps, that said that the only people whose voices really matter are those who are at the racetrack, not so much people on just Twitter or wherever. Yeah. I actually do. I mean, I know we're kind of just here on YouTube and Twitter and stuff, but we also go to the racetrack. We also go to the racetrack. So I do like that. I think it's good for them to not listen to the knee-jerk reactions you see on social media. I think that's smart.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, I'd say that no matter what it is, whether it's sports, entertainment, politics, like social media is such a different animal compared to just the general people involved in anything. And I honestly think that they're doing well by not following the mob, because the mob's just going to run right off a cliff with no direction whatsoever.
But when you refer to people who are putting out their opinions that might be negative as trolls, then I could see why fans would also be mad about that.
That's why I say just ignore it in general. Just ignore that part completely in general, unless it's an overwhelming voice of the fan base in general.
Right. So before we move on, thank you to Reverend Rasheem Stort for the $2.50 I can't even talk. The $2.25 super chat. Thanks, man. His question is, what is your favorite Talladega moment of all time? Mine is, I know I'm a big Junior fan here, but when Brian Vickers basically spun Johnson, that was really exciting though. I mean, at the time it wasn't, but that was really freaking exciting, man, and it got the fans all riled up. That's definitely one that sticks out. I know Jarrett's not gonna say that, but
for me, it all depends on whether or not you add in ones I've watched live or just in general. Because I think in general, a lot of people would say Earnhardt's 2000 win. I've went back and watched that race countless times, and it's an awesome race. But if I want to talk about ones I've watched live, geez, I mean, there's so many. For me, as a fan of Dale Jr., 2015 was awesome, but I'll admit that finish was pretty boring.
Yeah.
The 2011 finish was awesome. 2009 finish was awesome. Really, the 2005 Aaron's 499 is what sold me on plate racing in general. Is one of my favorite parts. So it's so hard to pin one down.
Yeah, I go with the 2012 fall race. I know it was total carnage because all but 3 cars wrecked, and there was even some potential injuries in that one. So I hate to pick that as my favorite, but as a Kenseth fan, that final restart was just insane. The back and forth for the lead, and it was spectacular in a literal sense of the word.
James?
I got to go with for what I've seen in person. I was there last year for the 1,000 Light Bulbs 500. So I got to see my man Eric Almirola pull one through. That was really epic to see in person. Watching one, I mean, you always got to go back to when they had the wickers on the roof and they were punching big holes in the air. Yeah. I'd say 2000 to EA Sports 500. First off, coolest name ever for a race. Second off, it went from wire to wire green. I mean, you can't beat an exciting race like that.
Yeah, it surprised me. In the span of 2 years, there were 2 Talladega races that went caution free. That's so shocking.
And I'd say in the package that back then everyone knew as the one that would always cause the big one kind of thing. It just showed how good they were back then.
Right.
For sure. They were a different breed of drivers, and they also had a different etiquette for sure. I mean, you heard Tony Stewart talk about it. They all knew how to race each other as competitively and hard as possible without wrecking each other.
All right, so moving on, Kurt Busch is exceeding all expectations. He's by far the best Chevy driver. Currently inside the top 10 in points with a team that wasn't even in the top 20 in points last year with Jamie McMurray. There were some talks this week that talks of a contract extension have not been they haven't been discussed yet, and to me that solidifies what I thought from the very beginning of the 2019 season, that Kurt Busch was going to be out after 2019. He was going to retire. And I feel like Ross Chastain is going to be his replacement. Eric, I know you think that exactly, but just elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't go to the point where I'd say it's a done deal yet. I definitely think Kurt Busch running as well as he's run this year maybe has not only changed Chip Ganassi's mind, thinking, hey, maybe we will re-up with Kurt Busch because he's really getting it done for our team. But it might also change Kurt Busch's mind slightly to where now he's thinking, oh, shoot, this is competitive. I thought I'd just kind of chill this year and it'd be kind of forgettable. But no, we're running well.
I do. Wait, hold on. I do want to add this really quick. I was told at the very beginning of the season at Las Vegas Motor Speedway that Kurt Busch was going to retire unless he was competing at a championship level.
Yeah.
So is this considered a championship caliber season or just a good season?
See, it's close. That's the thing. He hasn't won a race yet, but he's finished second. He's 7th in points. Like he's not a top championship contender, but it's not completely out of the question at this point. I think that's why he might be having second thoughts. In that quote, I think that was given by one of the owners over there, not one of the owners, but one of the head guys, whoever it was, they interviewed in that article, Chip Ganassi Racing. He made it sound like that it was going to be something that they bring to the table with Monster Energy and Kurt Busch. It wasn't something that they just weren't going to talk about. I am convinced that Chip Ganassi is going to ask Kurt Busch, what would it take for you to stay? Now, if Kurt asks for too much money, if Kurt says, nah, I'm good, I'm whatever, he is 40 years old, I think, it's like, I'm all right, I can just go chill. I don't need to race next year. Like, that still remains to be seen. And I think if Kurt Busch does step away, I think Ross Chastain would be their top pick. At least, I think in a perfect world, they'd want Ross Chastain. Of course, it's not a perfect world, and Ross Chastain doesn't have a whole lot of sponsorship. So I don't know if that would actually be their pick, but that's who I think Ganassi would want.
Well, no, I think in a perfect world they would want Christopher Bell. To be honest with you, there. I mean, him and Larson. Yeah, I mean him and Larson. I mean, they have some history together. They run
in a perfect world, they'd replace Kurt with Kyle Busch and go win races for 10 years.
Point.
But I don't.
Good point.
And they could get Christopher Bell. You never know how that Gibbs situation is going to work out.
Oh, really quick, I see in the chat, Corvette Racing 48 was saying that it's rumored that Kyle Larson will replace Alex Bowman in the 88 now. I looked into that, and it's actually just sort of a fan account. There's no valid evidence, at least from what I've seen. Now, again, it might have changed in the last 3 hours. There's no valid evidence for that. I just wanted to kind of quash that there because I saw that, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That's what I was like asking for 4 years ago, but no.
A little too late. A little too late, man.
Yeah. But going into the Ross Chastain deal, if he were to go and perform in the one car, then it would solidify for me that with him having to wait over and over again after thinking he was going to have the shot, if he went and then performed in the one car as well as Kurt Busch is now, that he'd be like in a way the same place that Aaron Rodgers was for Green Bay back in the early 2000s, where like, oh, he's going to replace Brett Favre after 05, and he replaced him, but after 08 kind of thing. And that's kind of like Chastain, where it's like, oh, he'll be in this, a top tier ride in 2018 or 2019. Oh, no, it's going to be like 2020, 2021. I'd re-up with Kurt Busch right now. Honestly, if I were Ganassi, I'd try and see what it would take to get him in, because with this format, I mean, a season like he's having now is a championship season. If he strikes together a win or two, he's right there at Homestead, and then anything can happen. So I'd say if you have a driver in the top 10 to 12 in points, and they are capable of winning, then it's a championship level season. They're a championship level driver. You should try and go after them. Now, again, if NASCAR ever changes it or they change the format or whatever, who knows? I don't know. That then you'd have to reevaluate. But right now with Kurt Busch, if I were Ganassi, I'd be like, hey man, I think there's still a little left in the tank. Let's go for it.
All right, James, your thoughts.
Oh man, silly season starts so early every year. If that contract extension comes with a ride in the Indy 500 as well, I believe Kurt Busch is down for sure to sign with Chip Ganassi. You got to wait for the summer months to kind of fizzle through to really see whether they are championship contenders. They've started out the year really strong, but I mean, they could derail, and Kyle could be the face of Ganassi going into the chase. You just got to wait for things to pan out. But I feel like Kurt is definitely at the point in his career where it's like, if I'm not at the top in NASCAR, I will take myself elsewhere. I'll go sports car racing. I'll go race open wheel. He is a very multi-versatile driver, and he'll find a ride somewhere. His name is there, and Monster's probably behind him too. So Kurt, he'll be around, but we'll see. I'll give it till like June. We'll hear something from him.
That's actually a good point. Yeah, there's no point for him to like rush into a decision now, and there's really not even a point for Ganassi to rush into a decision now. Wait until the summer. And I actually like what you said there, Kurt Busch. That's true. He does have, I don't want to say other options, but he might with Monster and with just his background. So I don't know.
He can race anything, man. That's for sure. Carl Singleton with the $1.99 super chat. Appreciate it. He's saying Kyle Larson is going to have to step up his game. Yes, I think we've been
That
saying
is a
that
true
for a
statement.
while. And $5 super chat from your boy Jack. Thanks, man. He says any places Bubba could go if he escapes the dumpster fire that is RPM.
Dumpster fire.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't think there's any options for him, to be honest with you here. Like right now, I'm not really hearing much. So
He could get a good Xfinity or truck ride, maybe. I don't know. There's a top cup ride out there that he would.
maybe the one. No, I'm just
No,
here,
the thing I'm thinking though is that with how Bubba's performed in the 43, whether it's his fault or not, teams are probably going to look at that really hard, and it might have set his career back a little bit. I see in the chat, Bubba to the 88, like maybe, but at the same time, it's like I really think that the performance, most of it should be put on the team, but at the same time, a lot of emphasis probably be put on driver too. So I don't see him actually being in a competitive cup ride in the foreseeable future, whether he stays with Petty or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'll have to go down for that one. And we know how some drivers feel about that. When we had Austin Terrio on, he was talking about, I used to think, going down in the lower levels was a good thing and stuff, but he wants to run with the best teams in the world and stuff. So I don't know how Bubba feels about that. Maybe he feels the same, but maybe not. So we'll have to wait and see what happens about that. The next topic, we're moving on. The next topic, Race Team Alliance is announcing a brand new sponsorship deal here. Jarrett, can you sort of allude to that for a moment here? I can't really pull it up right now.
Yeah, I think I wrote something down about. Yeah, they're asking for 7 figures yearly for the front quarter panel space, and they're calling it NASCAR Team Activation. I'll be honest, I hadn't seen too much about it leading up to it, but if they're just asking like as a cut from the ad revenue and stuff, then this could cause some tension for sure. And I'm just the way I see it, when we know how the Gen 7 deal is right now, and we know that it's behind schedule, and they're trying to rush that forward, and now you have the teams having something else sort of gritting against the sanctioning body and putting even more stress and tension there. If the sanctioning body is like, basically FU on it, then it could cause some problems that I don't think many people would see coming. I mean, could you see a strike maybe if they don't get what they want, or a boycott or uncertain sponsors? I don't know. It's too early to tell right now, but especially with how they're restructuring everything, this is another thing I think we're going to hear a lot more, and it's going to be a recurring story throughout the summer.
But does 7 figures, does that seem like it's too much? I don't know. That seems kind of a lot to me.
If it's for every team in the overall season, no, but I don't think it would be like that. If what I'm thinking is it's probably like 7 figures for each team. And I don't know. And it wasn't very specific on a lot of the reports.
I don't think it's not super specific, but I do think it is 7 figures total. And I think that's split pretty evenly among the teams. The interesting thing here is it sounds like they're kind of doing the opposite for this from what they're doing for like the title sponsorship. Like they're going away from just one big sponsor kind of owning the whole series, like Monster or Sprint or whoever, and instead are now going to divide it up amongst 5 or so sponsors. In this case, we used to have 10 sponsors right there on the door, and they'd split the cost a little bit, but now we're going the opposite. Now we're saying, oh no, we want one big sponsor right there. At least that's the way it's worded. We want, Valvoline, bam, pay us $5 million, and you can have your sponsor on all 30 or 40 cars, whatever it is, right there, little in that little zone. That can be your zone. Now you're right. 7 figures does seem a little low. If we're going to split it amongst the teams, maybe that is per team. But I think the point of the Race Team Alliance is it's kind of just like the way a union would be. Everyone gets an equal piece of the pie, I suppose. And so that's how it's phrased. But I don't know. I don't know about that one.
James?
Well, yeah, it sounds like, first off, they're definitely trying to get money without having it go through NASCAR. It seems like all the 7 figures would go directly to the team. NASCAR probably wouldn't see it. It would be like a deal that the sponsors would have exclusively with the team. And I'll just show this really quick. I'm assuming this is where they all want to put them, right? Remember how much
Yes.
money this used to be per sticker back in the day? It was like 500 a sticker or something, and you had like 10 stickers, and that was a lot of money. And then some teams would run them, some teams wouldn't. This sounds kind of like it, where everyone's kind of agreeing, like, hey, let's try to get some money. Because I saw on Twitter too, I believe someone was saying that the Charlotte area, like the teams were asking for tax cuts, and the state was willing to give the teams tax cuts. So it sounds like the teams are hurting for money, especially if they want to shell out this much money for this sponsorship, and they're all agreeing on it, that they all need the money.
Yeah.
I'll add one detail to that article actually about the tax cuts. That wouldn't be a new thing. I think they've apparently had those tax cuts for a while.
Yeah,
They're just
I was
trying
just
to
about
make
to
sure it
say.
continues.
Yeah, I was just about to say they're in
That's still a
talks
good
to
point,
renew
though.
it. Yeah.
Darren, I sent you a chart really quick. I saw this recently on Twitter. If we could share screen to see it, but it's a chart showing the median annual team income for each sport. Now this is like a lot of people are thinking, oh, this is the revenue NASCAR gets in general. It's like no, this is just each individual team. But I mean, it's comparing it to MLB, NFL, MLS, NBA, NHL.
All right, just give me a second. I'm just gonna pull it up. All right.
It's really telling because even in NASCAR's peak, it was nowhere close to even a league that at the time was a hell of a lot smaller in the NHL or the NBA.
All right, here it is. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
All right.
That little red line, that's NASCAR, right?
Oh.
Yep.
Yikes.
So each individual team generally has been making the same amount of money, but I guess when you adjust to inflation and stuff, that you probably want to see more than a little flat line going down. And I mean, it's kind of telling that if the way the sport's been going, it's probably costing more with how much that they continue to do this. And then with the Gen 7 coming out, that's just another burden on the team financially. I can see why that they're trying to get as much money together as possible, because like a good team like HMS or Gibbs isn't going to hurt. Those middle ground teams like Petty on down, they're hurting right now.
Oh yeah. Nope. Yeah, without a doubt.
I think that is one fair thing to point out there is I think that unlike, in the NBA or in Major League Baseball, there's like the Yankees or the Lakers who are worth way more than the New Orleans Pelicans, for example. But at the end of the day, they're not that far different. One's worth like $1 billion, the other's worth $3 billion. Like, I mean, that's $2 billion difference. But on a graph versus we compare like Hendrick Motorsports to Levi and Family Racing. Oh my gosh, that's got to be a huge difference. So I think that does skew the NASCAR data. The one important thing from that graph is you notice everyone else is mostly trending up. NASCAR is slightly trending down. Honestly, I'm surprised it wasn't as steep. I thought NASCAR would be trending even more down. So I actually took that as a positive that we've mostly stayed flat for a decade now. But yeah, I don't know. That was an interesting graph.
Right. Really quick, Tyler Johnson, thank you for the super chat, man. He says, drugs don't ruin careers, drug tests do. Jeremy Mayfield, Austin Wayne Self, and Spencer Gallagher. Yep.
Did they all say that?
No, I don't know. No, obviously not, but yeah, funny little joke there. I didn't forget it, by the way. We were just talking about the topic and stuff. So yeah, really appreciate it, man. And also, let me check the view count. 171 watching, only 59 likes. Let's click the like button, guys. Let's get it up there. Let's get it over 100 before the first hour. Let's do it. So I guess moving on, since we had a bye week, there's not that much in the news and stuff. So I'm kind of gonna make up some of our own talking points tonight. So another super chat, Flying Gator, thanks man. He says, tell Eric this is for the dog fund. I don't know.
Dog fund. So people sent me super chats on a stream I did recently telling me to get a dog.
Oh, you don't have a dog? You don't have
well, I mean, my parents have a dog. I'm in college. I don't have a dog here.
Oh.
Does your girlfriend want a dog?
I think she does, but I think we both realize it would be best to not get one while we live in a college apartment. So yeah, we'll wait.
Very logical sense. It's
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah. Just don't throw it in the trash, man. Like that one. But anyway.
Thanks.
Talk about edgy. But anyways, so Real Radman, he had posted this Twitter poll on Monday. And the question was, is Kyle Busch considered a superstar? And the poll was very interesting. Only 78% of you guys said yes, and 22% said no. Now, I thought that was really disrespectful at first to Kyle Busch. I'm like, oh yeah, he's for sure a superstar and stuff. And then it sparked a little bit of a debate in the NASCAR Weekly Podcast chat. So I'm gonna have you guys talk about it on air now. The question is, does NASCAR have any current superstars? Jarrett, start us off.
I would say no. If you're looking at the overall sense, I mean, if you're looking in the sport, I guess you could say like in the sport, Kyle Busch or Chase Elliott's a NASCAR superstar. But if you're looking in general amongst people, the way I really look at a superstar is somebody that gets everybody else talking, that gets, Tom Brady, for instance. Tom Brady's in the Super Bowl. There's people that don't even know anything about football. They're like, wow, Tom Brady's back again. Tiger Woods. Let's be honest, anyone else does good at golf. Really, nobody outside of golf fans are going to watch unless it's Tiger Woods. LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. Like the NBA is built on the superstar mentality right there. Baseball, Harper and Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, continue on, Rodriguez. You look at NASCAR, and if you're going to ask anyone else that's not a NASCAR fan outside the sport, hey, what NASCAR drivers do you know of? Like, what NASCAR driver get you watching? They'd be like Jeff Gordon or Dale Earnhardt Jr., and they're retired. You look at Kyle Busch is going to get people in the sport talking, so he's definitely a star, but at the same time, outside the sport, if Kyle Busch wins a race, nobody's going to say anything. I was actually asking some people in a few of my classes today. I'm like, I asked them two questions: what NASCAR drivers do you know of? And they kept being Dale Jr., Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart. The only active driver I think that could be considered a superstar would be Jimmy Johnson. He's the only one that was named that was active. And then I just asked like what they think a superstar would be, and they're like, well, somebody that I would know of even though I don't watch it. And that's where I kind of go with it too. I think that NASCAR can have a superstar. Like in my opinion, you need two superstars in NASCAR. That's how the modern formula, in my opinion. So you had Dale Earnhardt before in the 90s, and then Jeff Gordon came in. He was like a foil to him. And it was like the perfect polar opposite. And those two were the two superstars. I think in modern NASCAR, Kyle Busch has the best chance of current drivers to be a superstar, but he needs somebody that's that good guy to go against. So I think it has to be somebody new, because I don't think anyone that would be that good guy has as much charisma, has enough charisma or personality to do so. Like, I don't think that if Chase Elliott started going against Kyle Busch, he would start turning the needle for the rest of the sport to see. But I think it can be done. I think that in the near future, we'll probably have some superstar, whether it's Haley Deegan or somebody else that we don't know of. But for now, I don't think we have one.
Yeah, I think that's the important distinction in this debate is it a superstar within the racing world? Is it a superstar just within the world? Yeah, I think I agree with you for the most part. I was walking around campus the other day with a Jimmy Johnson hat on. It's just a blue hat with a neon yellow 48, obviously Jimmy Johnson. And a guy asked me, who's 48? And I'm like, why are you even coming up to me at first? But of course he asked, who's 48? And I said, oh, it's Jimmy Johnson. And he did this like, oh yeah. What am I thinking? Like, and I'm like, you don't know who Jimmy Johnson is. I guarantee it. So I think that does confirm that. And no, there's nobody. Jimmy Johnson's the closest. Kyle Busch is the second closest to being an actual superstar in the American sports world. But I would argue they're still not quite there. I think you're right, Jarrett. There's not really a superstar in NASCAR. And I think that's what's hurt it more than anything. Because, yeah, we don't have that foil, that rivalry like we used to have between Earnhardt and Gordon, or even Gordon and Johnson, or whoever else you want to point to. Within the NASCAR, within the racing world, yes, Kyle Busch is a superstar if we're going to talk about that. But I think that's a distinction that needs to be made, and it just highlights one of the issues NASCAR is facing right now.
Well, yeah, like I was saying in chat, like, oh, of course Kyle Busch is a superstar, but like I was like, in NASCAR, he's definitely a superstar in NASCAR and stuff. But like Jarrett just alluded to, if we're going to talk about superstar in a sense, of like the real term of a superstar, then no, he's not. And honestly, I really do think that Haley Deegan can eventually become that superstar. And even Bubba, like all Bubba has to do is just start like running inside the top 10 and stuff, and like making the playoffs, and then for sure like he already gets talked about enough as is, and if he can just run decent, then he's gonna be talked about even more and stuff. So I think like as soon as he finds his footing in the Cup Series, then eventually he'll become a superstar and stuff. And I think Chase Elliott, he's on his way. But Jarrett, you were saying that Chase Elliott, is kind of like Dale Jr. in the sense where he won't pick up he won't pick
This
up.
one's gonna give me a little trouble.
All right, just
Especially
explain it.
being
Just
a Junior
explain it.
fan.
Explain it, man.
If you look at, like, for instance, in my opinion, when you want to see who is reaching out to others across the sport and across the world outside of it, I think you need to look at internet searches. So, like, if you go on, for instance, like Google or Yahoo, and you like look at searches like who is Jeff Gordon, who is Dale Jr., the Jeff Gordon ones are always higher up. The Jeff Gordon searches are generally higher than Dale Jr. ones. You look on YouTube, for the most part, like I've noticed, if I do a video about Jeff Gordon, it's going to get more people from outside the sport talking, whereas Dale Jr. will get more people in the sport. So Chase Elliott, when I say Chase Elliott is a lot like Junior in this regard, I don't mean it as a disrespect to Junior, but Junior and Chase Elliott are good at getting that base, that core base together and watching, but not really good at reaching outside the sport and being like, wow, like this is someone I can relate to. Whereas like Jeff Gordon is somebody who he brought in droves of fans because they're people that this new era of fan could relate to. And especially towards the end of his career, I don't think Dale Jr. had that power anymore. I think he did at the start of his career. He was that fresh young face, the guy that would sit there and win a race at Talladega on Sunday, be in a Jay-Z video on Monday. And I think that Chase Elliott, I guess he's been on ridiculousness, and so has Haley Deegan. But I don't think he'll have the same star power as Dale Jr. no matter how he does, unless he becomes like a 7-time champion or like on a Jeff Gordon status. I don't think Chase Elliott's going to have the same star power as Dale Jr. I don't think he has the charisma or personality to. But I think as his career goes on, he's only going to be drawing in those core guys. And like I said, we need somebody who comes into the sport who can draw those other eyes. I think right now the biggest one in the sport that could do it would be a Daniel Suarez or a Bubba Wallace, but an up-and-comers, I'd say probably just Haley Deegan right now for what we can see.
Yeah, I do. Going back to your earlier argument, you said we need like a good guy to challenge Kyle Busch. I'd say Ryan Blaney's the one I think could do it. I think Ryan Blaney does have enough personality. If he can start winning like his teammates are, I think that would do it. Yeah, I was gonna go somewhere else with that, but I think you actually started to say stuff that I was gonna say. So
I talk too much.
James, what are your thoughts here?
I agree a bit to what Jarrett just last said. Like young guys like a Daniel Suarez. That's and to everyone who just said Haley Deegan, honestly, those two people have more a different reach and a different look, the newer look of NASCAR. I mean, you have an international face with Suarez, and you have a female with Haley Deegan. And Haley Deegan's got personality. I mean, she showcases it. She does a lot of content that's like from TRD, from Monster. She's edgy. She's cool, and you like that about her. And Daniel's been personable, and he's a very nice guy, and he's always cool. But like you guys have said, unless you are winning, people usually don't talk about you. But a personality goes a long way, and no one really has that great personality anymore. No one has the ability to command the audience's attention just for being on track. Dale Earnhardt would go on track. It didn't matter if he was running 30th or first. You paid attention because it was Dale Earnhardt. And the same was with Jeff Gordon as well, because there was something to them at that time. Nowadays, I feel like we all want someone to be that person to challenge somebody or to rival. And I hate to say we got to let it play out, but sometimes you just got to let it play out because it's just going to happen naturally. If we force someone like Chase Elliott, NASCAR has been forcing him to be the superstar. I don't mind Chase Elliott, but I don't see him as a superstar because, he hasn't really been winning. Yeah, the end of last year, he picked it up, and everybody within the NASCAR community was Chase Elliott. But if you asked a 22-year-old off the street who Chase Elliott was, he'd be like, I don't know, but that sounds like a cool name. Is it real? But it's like that. You ask somebody who Dick Trickle is, they still know who Dick Trickle is because of that ESPN clout he had on Sports Center. It was so big, but even now it's still such a cult funny thing. You know who Dick Trickle is. No one knows who Kyle Busch is. Yeah. It's weird how it works, but personality goes such a long way. And maybe we might not respect Kyle see him as a superstar probably until he's retired, especially with this age we live in, how we like just attack people within the moment. or just devalue the moment or the accomplishment, no matter what sport it is. I mean, look at Tom Brady. He wins the Super Bowl. Who cares? But he just won a Super Bowl. I mean, that's a big deal kind of thing. And Kyle Busch wins 200 races. He wins triple header on a weekend, and everyone's like, oh, he shouldn't be running. He shouldn't be doing this. You just got to accept it and got to run it. It is what it is. I mean, but, everyone's going to judge who's a superstar on a different level. But for sure, if you got to say anybody now, it's Jimmy Johnson. He's 7-time chasing 8. If you're good enough to get on Good Morning America and have that clout level of status, you are a superstar.
Now, do you think the sponsors have a stranglehold on personalities more than ever in NASCAR today?
Oh yeah.
I feel like the sponsors want personality. I feel like even the sponsors try to force personality, and you see either good personalities come out or not. For example, Michael Waltrip's personality always was great, and you saw with a brand like Napa, it came through, and then success also followed on track. He was really competitive in his DEI equipment. And he had a great personality and great voice that went with the brand that lasted that relationship, even though he was the worst driver in NASCAR at one point. But you see how strong a relationship can bond something, It's like if Menards was like, hey, Ryan Blaney, we want you to do you, go on this podcast, do you, and do whatever. I'm pretty sure Ryan Blaney wouldn't mind, because he'd still be doing him no matter what the sponsor told him or not, because he wants to be true to him. And all drivers want to be true to themselves. They don't want to play a fool and act and fake what is really them and what they're trying to portray. So it's kind of what the people perceive. It's like Denny Hamlin. People perceive Denny Hamlin as a mad person, where he's just got
Rusty. I'm looking at you, Rusty.
He's a nice guy, but he looks mad all the time. Don't go up to him, especially if you're Rusty Wallace. So sponsors have a big play, but there's so many different sponsors that come in and out of the sport. I feel like they really want the personality of the driver, because that's the other aspect they're looking at for selling their product, because they're associating not with the team, but with the driver. It's like, that's the different aspect with NASCAR. The commercialism goes not only for the team, but also for the driver. And then you have that double following that, kind of comes into play with your investment within marketing in NASCAR.
See,
you
Okay. So I want to go along with that, because I do think that in a way, stranglehold, it doesn't have to mean, in my opinion, suppressing the personality as much as gearing it towards a certain way, or telling to act kind of. So you'll see, like you're saying, Michael Waltrip, but it's like they promoted Michael Waltrip to be more goofy over time until it's really that's just how he's perceived by everyone. And kind of like you're saying, Denny Hamlin being mad. When every time I've met Michael Waltrip, he's like the most calm dude, laid back guy. But to have him on the air or with Napa, they want him to be this, big, flamboyant, crazy guy. And I think with other sponsorship ones, I think they're starting to release it a little bit with social media, because it's a lot harder to control what people think and say, with just 180 characters in a tweet. But I do think that you're not going to see something like with Earnhardt back in the day, where he could literally say something was complete BS and just get away with it, and Goodrun just fine with it. I think you have to be more polished, though, in modern NASCAR. So a lot of these people's personalities do kind of have to be tapered down a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's like, I think it's just like a lot of the drivers, I think sponsors want personality, but they want a specific kind of personality. They do want a little bit of control over what you're going to do and what you're going to say. That's kind of what you're saying with Michael Waltrip. But I think I was thinking about this the other day, and I guess I've thought about it before, but it kind of hit me. I'm like, this is the number one reason. The problem is, the reason a lot of these young drivers, we talk about all the time, Bowman's boring, Byron's boring, Eric Jones is boring, even Blaney is kind of boring. Let's be real. He feels like he could be way more entertaining, way more interesting. But I think the biggest problem is these guys, they haven't won anything yet. They don't feel like they've earned the right to speak their mind. I honestly think that's what it is. I think a lot of these guys come into NASCAR and they haven't earned their stripes yet. They feel like they got to stay in line. Like Eric Jones doesn't know if he's going to have a job next year. Alex Bowman's not sure if he's going to have a job in 2 years. They're like, we got to toe this line and just get results first and foremost. And then once we've established ourselves, then we can be like Kyle Busch and talk shit about Goodyear whenever we want. We can be Clint Boyer, like shotgunning a beer on social media and starting a whole trend like that, or whatever it is. The older drivers are the ones showing the personality and being the most vocal Tony Stewart really throughout his career, but I guess he was established pretty early on. But these days you see Brad Keselowski's doing it, Kyle Busch is doing it, Clint Boyer's doing it, Joey Logano's even doing it because he's now established. He's a champion now. He can say what he wants. He can kind of do what he wants. And the problem is I just think a lot of these young guys, until they start winning races, I think they just deep down still feel like Xfinity guys racing in the Cup Series. And I don't know when that's going to change. It'll change at some point I think we saw it a little bit with Chase Elliott when he got into it with Hamlin. I think that was finally because he'd been running well. He looked like he deserved to be in the championship 4. I think at that point when Hamlin stepped over the line, Chase Elliott wasn't having anything of it. So I think we got a glimpse of it there, but we just have to see more of that. And I don't think we're going to see more of that until some of these young guys actually start winning and beating the Kyle Busches a little bit more often.
Do you think? Here's another question. Out of all of the young guns in the Cup Series right now, who are your guys' top 3 that can sort of lead that new trend of personalities for years to come?
Well, let's see.
On the personality side, we already mentioned Bubba has a good personality. Suarez, I guess. Blaney to a lesser extent. But the problem with those first 2 is they've literally done nothing so far in the Cup Series. So that's going to be a little bit of an issue. Personally, I think Brian Blaney is the best bet. He's already got a little bit of that name recognition. He's got a little bit of personality, and he's on a good team, and he's performing pretty well. I'd go with Blaney. Maybe Chase Elliott if he can just. God, you see him in those Hooters ads. He looks stiff as a board. He's just
he looks so uncomfortable.
He also has a girlfriend too, so he can't really show too much personality.
He's just socially awkward. We all know it.
But my grandfather and I watched a lot of races with him. He really got me into the sport, and I actually laughed so hard I cried when he did this. Elliott was being interviewed, I think, after Martinsville this year, and my grandpa goes, "Watch this." He's gonna go, "I hate it for my guys. It's just." We just fell back there at the end, just lost it at the end. And he said almost the exact thing that my grandpa had said. And I was just like, oh my gosh, he's so predictable. And it's like, and I don't blame it completely on Elliott. And I don't hate Elliott at all. I think people get that mixed up. They think because I criticize Elliott, it means I hate him. I do not. I think he looks, honestly, when he's away from having to do all the sponsorship stuff and just himself, seems like a cool dude. Seems like a really cool dude. I think he could fit that same area that a Bobby Labonte would fit. I think that putting him as a face of the sport is too much to put on him, and I think that it's his name is why. Just it's a tough deal for NASCAR because you have that name recognition, and it really will bring people in at first. But then you had the same problem you had with Dale Jr., whereas Dale Jr. had a great personality to bring with it. And he could really express himself, and especially early in his career, he said stuff that a lot of people wouldn't say, and he fit well into that. Whereas, like I said, I think that Chase Elliott would fit a lot better as a Jeff Burton kind of role or a Bobby Labonte personality. But putting him as the face of the sport, I don't think that would work. And I think that even towards the end of Dale Jr.'s career, even when he did well, it didn't work using one man to carry an entire sport. I think that they need to do what a lot of other leagues do and have multiple people as the face of the sport, because I don't think one driver right now can do it.
But most of those guys have to be likable, though. We can agree on that. They have to be likable.
You gotta, for the most part, you have to be likable, and I think you can have that one villain that the majority of the people can see as unlikable.
Yeah, because if you have a ton of people, if you have a ton of drivers, acting like what's his name, Westbrook, and just oh, next question and all that shit. I don't know, people, they're just gonna tune out at that point. They're just gonna be.
You have that driver with Kyle Busch,
right?
You just need other drivers around him that can perform on his level, or at least a comparable level. And also at the same time be somebody that's likable. Nothing against Kyle Busch, but it's just and he does it on purpose. The way he puts himself out there is to be that foil. But there's nobody yet that can go against him really that's likable. There's Kevin Harvick, but he's not really likable. Truex is growing unfavorability. His unfavorability rating has been growing with time.
It's tanked. Man.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he went from the lovable underdog to the complaining guy that everyone can't stand really quick. but right now, all these likable guys, for the most part, the most likable person that is performing on a good level, I would say, compared to Kyle Busch, would either be Clint Boyer or Kurt Busch. And they're not. I mean, they're performing well, but they're not
Yeah.
performing that great.
I feel like. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, yeah. Last thing on my little tangent. Personally, and I've said this a few times on here, I think that Brad Keselowski gets way too much hate and should be put in a better category, because while he might be completely off his rocker half the time with what he's saying, he's still willing to put that out there, and pretty much the most vocal driver we have. He's what he's what all these fans ask for in a driver, but nobody actually likes it when they
don't
it.
embrace him. Yeah, they don't embrace him at all.
He's that mix of old school and brash new driver at the same time, but nobody likes him.
Well, I feel like in the there's more personalities in the lower series. I mean, for example, Xfinity. Noah Gragson, he's out there on social media all the time. Who else? In the Truck Series, Myatt Snyder. He's running part-time, unfortunately, and stuff though. So you can't see that as much. And hell, Jordan Anderson, we had him on the show last week. Awesome dude. One of our best guests ever. You know what I mean? So I feel like these personalities and stuff, they're in NASCAR. They're just not in the Cup Series where everybody can see, or where most people can see. And in some cases, they're not even running up front either. So I feel like that's another issue as well. So NASCAR currently has a superstar problem, and hopefully in the next 5 years we can talk about all of the new superstars that'll be up and coming in the sport pretty soon. Really quick, so I'm going to read off some of these super chats I missed. So wow, thank you for the $2 super chat. Blazers in 6, Eric. I don't know. What do you think?
They already won their series. Rockets don't play them next.
They don't.
Sure. I hope the Blazers win in 6. I'd like to see the Blazers go to the conference finals. Sure.
Who the Rockets playing?
We're playing the Jazz. I think the game's on right now. Are we winning? Chat.
No. Second round. I think he's talking second round.
Oh, probably Warriors, probably.
Oh.
So.
Okay. So yeah, he says Blazers in 6. Carl Singleton. He says you like Kyle Busch though, Darian. Yeah, I'm sort of 50-50 on him and stuff though. I probably defend him maybe the most on Twitter out of anybody on the podcast, and hell, maybe I even defend him the most on the podcast. I don't know, but yeah, definitely 50-50 on him. And Quentin, he's asking, what is your favorite? This is what the super chat says. What is your favorite Tony Stewart moment? It doesn't say Stewart, it says Stewart. So
does everybody know Tony Stewart?
Yeah.
Stewart.
Yeah, that's what
seems like a great person putting himself out to the world.
Yeah. So I don't know. My favorite Tony Stewart moment was wow, there's so many. Actually, I think Jarrett might agree with me on this. Watkins Glen 2004. He wins in a shit covered car, or he basically he crapped his pants on lap 10 and he won the whole, and basically drove like that the entire race and he won it. So there's my, and then the best part is during the interviews, Bill Weber wouldn't even get close to the car because it smelled so bad, man.
I just get this amazing vision in my head, if you're there and you just have hundreds of fans and media and pit crews sitting around an empty car that smells like absolute crap. And I just imagine how awkward that victory lane had to be.
Yeah.
That is not my favorite Tony Stewart moment, actually. I kind of have two. I got to see, I was lucky enough to see him win twice at Chicagoland, 2007 and 2011. 2007 was my first year in an infield at a NASCAR race. So I would say 2007 narrowly beats it out for me, just because I got to see, and maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I'm pretty sure Tony Stewart climbed the fence that race.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah, and that was pretty awesome. Again, I was 8 at the time, so I might be remembering stuff wrong. I've had a lot of hits ahead, and based on the chat, Darian, 12 away from 10K.
Oh, no way. Really?
Yes, way.
Let me check. Let me check really quick. Let me confirm that. Let's see.
I have very few Tony Stewart moments I like. There's a lot of Tony Stewart moments I hated. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that might not have been the best.
If I could pick, there's one I was just thinking of. I saw Tony Stewart win a couple times as well, except one of the times I was actively rooting against him and rooting for Carl, and that didn't go well. I don't know. Yeah, Tony threw the helmet at my favorite driver once. He tried to kill my favorite driver at Daytona once. Tried to kill Newman. No, they were the Richmond. That's not. Probably when he won at Sonoma. Honestly, even at that point, I was kind of like, all right, Tony, you won your final season wins at Sonoma. All
Now
right.
you can leave. Now you can leave.
When he got in that crash in 2006 and he started actually hammering on working on his own car, I miss that with drivers. That's one thing I hated so much about the damage rule is like there's so many cool things that have happened because you could fix your car and get back out there, stuff like that. There's like Dale Jr. at Martinsville where he was basically running a modified car. There's so many different things, but yeah, there's a lot of Tony Stewart. I like Tony Stewart a little more than the average fan. But
a little more than Eric, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
James?
I've seen Tony win for several races live and in person. Honestly, for a while, I thought Tony Stewart was going to win every race I went to, which kind of was a theme. I saw him win his championship in 2011 in person. That was the first race I ever shot with a photo vest, so that was amazing. Got to be around afterwards when no one was there. So that's my best in-person moment. Got to talk to Gene Haas and kind of like and get to know Darian Grubb a little bit more, and that was really cool at that moment. Best moment though, 2012 Talladega. Those comments after the race, after he was involved in like the 7th wreck, those were priceless. Those should be quoted for the rest of the weekend because it is Talladega. But yeah. Just how he felt that day, how upset he was, his personality just coming through, just like, I don't care if NASCAR is going to be mad at me. And like, you see the PR person in the interview standing right behind him, just
like looking at him like, what are you doing?
Just like, please stop talking, Tony. Just please stop.
I'm going to tweet that over the weekend for sure. Now that you've said that, I have to tweet that over the weekend. Something happens that I don't like. I'm like, screw it. Just make it a figure 8.
Right.
Just run half of them backwards at halfway and the other half the other way, and then we'll see how many we got at the end.
I'll make sure to type that tweet up right now. Just like I'll type a tweet out just for if the race is awesome, and one for if it's just terrible, and that's a terrible one.
Yeah, make sure.
I always want to have some smart ass thing to say with that. So on Twitter. So thanks for having me covered there.
Also,
what I'm here for.
Also, by the way, guys, we are 12 away from 10K. That's pretty awesome. So let's see if we can get to 10K on the stream, that'd be amazing. So let's do it. Also, let's see how many are watching. Pulling it up. Oh, all right, 213 people watching and only 96 likes on my end. So make sure to lick the like button. We're almost at 100 before the first hour is up.
Hey, Ian Miller has a good point. Darian, don't you mean 10,000K?
Oh, 10,000K. Yeah, that's right. 10,000K. That's right. Yeah, that's what I meant. 10,000K, man. All right. So
I think we had one other super chat.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
I'll get to them in like during the second hour. I'll get to them later for sure.
Okay.
All right. So moving on. I was about to say the state. I really was. This was in my head. So Mexico. I was about to say the state of Mexico for a moment. So yeah, missed that. No, can't meme that for sure. All right. So Mexico's government is seeking to bring NASCAR back to the country. The last time NASCAR raced there was, I believe, from 2005 to 2008. I want to say. I think I'm right on that. Yeah, somewhere around there, somewhere around that area. Because they've seen that their tourism has gone up whenever motorsports is in their country. For example, the Formula One Grand Prix nearly sold out last year, and fans got to see Lewis Hamilton win his 5th championship. So, with possible 2021 schedule changes, I'm gonna ask my panel here. Could the Cup Series possibly go across the border into Mexico, or could we see maybe Xfinity or possibly trucks there?
Well, one thing I found interesting about the statement put forward was that they said that they were exploring the possibility of bringing several NASCAR races to Mexico, which makes me think it's like probably multiple series. I don't know about Cup just yet, but I know we were talking I think last week. It was either last week or the week before on the podcast about that they needed to try and go more international. Start with start with maybe Mexico and Canada and work out from there if they want to expand. They were listening to us. No, I think what's probably going to happen is they might do like a doubleheader with Trucks and Xfinity, and then maybe some lower series and stuff, and maybe give because I think NASCAR has a series that runs in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, the Peak Series, the Mexico
Yeah.
Peak Series, something like that.
So maybe that might be a way that both NASCAR and Mexico together can get more awareness towards that. But I can probably see, like, maybe ARCA, they could move with it since they're being put into the NASCAR fold now.
Ooh, ARCA in Mexico? Oh, that race would be legendary. So many cautions, man. So many cautions.
ARCA breaks would be amazing. But yeah, so again, there's a lot of this stuff is so early on in the process. I don't think there's any definitive thing we can say about it just yet.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. It'd be nice to see NASCAR branch out to Mexico. I don't see Cup Series racing anywhere in Mexico in 2021. It'd be mid 2020s probably, but the trucks could go there. Maybe Xfinity. Yeah, they already have a little bit of a stock car racing fan base. I mean, that's where Suarez kind of came from. So there's definitely interest there. I do think it's interesting in that article. I can't remember where you guys said it was from, but I read it as well. And the most interesting part of it was that they specifically said, we want NASCAR, not more F1. So they want to bring more NASCAR. I know they already have an F1 race. I guess it's every year. But they're like, no, we want more NASCAR. We want NASCAR now. So I think that's interesting. It doesn't make sense having 2 F1 races or events in Mexico. I don't know if that would make sense of why Mexico of all places, but bring in NASCAR. That's cool. That'd be a good. I'd be all for it. I think it's just expanding to a fan base that we've never actually tried. And you can't really hurt the current fan base just by adding a race, especially if it's a short track. You add a short track to the schedule and put it in Mexico. I don't feel like you'll be making anyone mad. You'll just be possibly making some people happy.
Well, it's funny that you brought that up. I remember watching Pit Bulls in 2004 on Speed, and I remember them talking about, if NASCAR goes to Mexico, like all the fans, they're gonna be pissed because they've already left Rockingham and like other tracks at the time, like let's say Pikes Peak were trying to get a Cup Series schedule and stuff, and then they were off the schedule after 2005. So different times compared to now and stuff. But yeah, I don't see it being much of a negative. But I will say though that they do probably need to up the safety on their facilities. I mean, in the NASCAR in their own Mexico series, there's been quite a few fatalities. The most recent was 2009. I forgot the driver's name, but like he had spun his car into a straight up concrete barrier and stuff, and unfortunately he got killed and stuff. So like they obviously need to improve that aspect on there. But James, what do you think?
Let's bring it back. Let's go back to Mexico City. Busch Series 2005, 2006. They used to run there. Come on, NASCAR. We're doing road courses at Road America, which is beautiful. You're doing it in Mid-Ohio. Bring the Xfinity Series back over there. Bring the trucks back over there. Have 2 international stops for the truckers. That'd be really cool. You bring in different drivers that want to come into those series. Drivers from open wheel, drivers from sports cars who have the money to go drive NASCAR on an international stage with international exposure. With the Busch and the Truck Series there's more of a light that is shined on those series for those weekends, and they get the big exposure. It'd be really cool to see the Euro Series expand and not just be in Europe, but kind of come and do like an international tour like F1 does, like Porsche GT Cup does. It'd be really great to see NASCAR have something like that. Our boy Maya Snyder, he should be tweeting right now, hey, let's get this going, because it's a great opportunity. We've seen what Mexico has done with open wheel racing, not just F1, but Formula E. It's been a really positive thing for their country to bring in these new people. And they're trying to bring in people from America. Say, hey, come race NASCAR here. I agree. The safety needs to step up. The cars, the tracks, especially for the ovals on the Peak Series.
They're very outdated still, even still
no,
today.
I want to ask, was it a Rams game this past year was supposed to be playing in Mexico, but because of the facility problem?
The field
so it's not,
was so bad that they had to move the game back to LA. Yeah.
That's the thing. Whoever's running the tracks or the city or whoever is in charge of that, NASCAR would have to hold their feet to the fire because they can't just go on this 20-year crusade of safety just to go to a track that, people back in the 90s wouldn't want to race on.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. And that's why I feel like the road circuit that the F1 series runs at, and I'm not sure the circuit, but that would be the only circuit that I'd see NASCAR running at if they're going to run by 2021. Honestly, all the tracks everywhere needs to step up their safety and innovation, because unless you were on the NASCAR schedule, you're not getting safer barriers and all these things implemented, because NASCAR isn't there as a sanctioning body to say we need this. As I work in IMSA, IMSA doesn't ask for safer barriers. They ask for tire walls, but there's a lot of concrete, and that concrete destroys cars, especially $300,000 sports cars. So imagine a stock car that just crinkles under any kind of impact hitting concrete. I mean, you're hurting drivers and everything. So everywhere needs to kind of step up safety. And that's the fine line. It's like, unless you're a NASCAR sanctioned oval, you're not getting a lot of the ability to have these safety innovations come your way.
Yeah, good points all around. So moving on to it's related to this upcoming race. We have a full entry list. So full field, 40 cars with some surprises. The most funniest to me is Stanton Barrett. He's back again. Like the most random. Like, if you've played NASCAR Thunder 2004, he is the most annoying driver in the entire field. I mean, go ask WinVal. He'll tell you all about him. Yeah, he'll tell you all about him. Some new entries. Jeffrey Earnhardt's going to be driving the 81 Toyota for XCI. Is that like what's their full name?
It's just basically Gibbs Light.
Oh, okay.
It's Extreme Concepts Incorporated.
Oh, okay.
To the extreme.
Yeah. And
Ultra.
And according to Eric's video, they are planning to run full time. I don't know necessarily if they are with Jeffrey, but it's a pretty big ambition for a team that just started up.
Yeah, they'd like to get to full time at some point. The plan this year is they've already run one Xfinity race. They have 4 more, and then they have this Cup race plus the other one at Talladega. I think the company or the team is located in Alabama, so that's why they're running both Talladegas. But yeah, it sounds like they are affiliated with, or not affiliated, they're straight up aligned with Joe Gibbs Racing. You look at the font of that 81, it's the 18 backwards. So they're getting equipment from Gibbs. It sounds like they want to eventually get to full time. This is just kind of the start of it. But I'm excited because of the restrictor plate track, all you really need is a good engine. And with Jeffrey Earnhardt, who ran well in the Xfinity series, I don't know. You never know with this 81 car. They could sneak in and get a top 10 in their debut.
And also, Justin Haley's making his debut as well for Spire Motorsports. I feel like he can get that team their first ever top 15 finish. I feel like that'll be like a win for them. Casey Mears is also back in the 27.
Birthday boy Kamikaze is gonna love that.
Yeah, he's gonna love that.
Is Mears really back? I didn't even notice. That's
Yeah.
cool.
By the way, happy birthday, Kamikaze.
Yeah,
22.
I was just about to say happy birthday, man. Brendan Gaughan's also going to be driving the 62, so he always shows up for the plate races. But out of all of those guys I just mentioned, who do you think will perform the best? I feel like it's going to be Justin Haley. What do you think, Jarrett?
I'd say with the Gibbs support, I'll go Jeffrey Earnhardt. He showed some pretty good drafting skill, and I don't know. I was thinking about it when I saw him that he was going to be on there. And then seeing what happened this past week, that had to do with the Earnhardt family, and I just keep thinking it would be perfect for Jeffrey Earnhardt to at least have a really good run at Talladega.
If he won,
if he won, that place would burn to the ground. It'd be insane.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorensen, my bad. Sorensen. Reed Sorensen is driving the 27. Sorry about that. So not Mears.
But I probably got Kamikaze's hopes up.
Yeah, sorry, Kamikaze. I got your hopes up on your birthday, man. Not the birthday.
No, I'd say Jeffrey Earnhardt. He showed some pretty good drafting skill. He's probably got the best teacher that he could rely on if he just called his uncle up. And he's got some pretty good equipment. It's basically Gibbs equipment, just a different name. It's the 5th Gibbs car this weekend, or 6th if you count Levine Family Racing. So yeah, that's my pick. Many probably won't agree with me, though.
I agree with you. I'd say Earnhardt. I mean, you just look at Levine Family Racing's got TRD support, and De Benedetto led like half the Daytona 500. So, so I'm going to say, I think we obviously don't know how this aero package is going to run. We really don't even know what the racing is going to look like this weekend. But just eyeball test, I think Earnhardt, out of all those guys we just mentioned, I would go with Jeffrey.
James?
You guys, I need you guys to talk to my girlfriend because she hates Jeffrey Earnhardt for some reason, just because he runs bad. But you guys are you're big in the positivity. Yeah,
Wait,
he
your
could be doing
girl,
something good
your girl
for
watches
sure.
NASCAR? That's a first.
If it wasn't for me, she wouldn't be watching
Oh,
it.
okay, that makes sense.
But she's a good supporter. But I'd really love to see Jeffrey run well. It'd be nice to see any of those lower funded teams run well, but I got to give it to Brendan Gaughan. He's such a wily veteran at these plate races. I wouldn't be surprised if he came home with a top 5. If if he keeps his nose clean and say wrecks happen, he'll be there at the end contending. He's got RCR support under the hood. It's an old RCR car probably with Alliance and the pit crews, so he'll be contending for sure. But Jeffrey Earnhardt, everyone should watch out for him because, like you said, he's got that Joe Gibbs engine. He's got Joe Gibbs probably pit crew. He's got Joe Gibbs everything. So he'll be contending all race long.
Oh, and also another entry, Parker Kligerman will be driving the 96 this weekend again. So also someone else to watch out for. So moving on to another little fun segment I made up. So the NFL draft is tomorrow, and with that beckoning, I decided to put this together. So let's do our own little NASCAR draft here. So basically, what you have to do is, if you had the opportunity, in only the Xfinity Series or below, who would be your number 1 pick, and who would be your Mr. Irrelevant?
Oh boy, I don't know about Mr. Irrelevant just because, to be quite honest, I have a little bit of trouble following who's where because a lot of the time there'll just be drivers that show
It
up
has
and
to
then
be
nothing.
it has to be the worst driver you can think of for Mr. Irrelevant. Worst one.
I don't know. For number 1 pick, both. I think with picking people in NASCAR, it's much different than football, basketball, whatever, because you one have to look at talent, but at the same time, NASCAR is so sponsor oriented, you have to look at marketability. And so if I'm looking at talent, I'm going Christopher Bell. But if I'm looking marketability, again, I know I keep bringing her up, but Haley Deegan, just because she's both a very talented driver, maybe not as talented as Bell, but much more marketable. And as for irrelevant, just because Tyler Johnson said I can't say him, I'm going to say Morgan Shepherd because he's the oldest guy out. He's the oldest guy out there, and he's not going to be the future of your team.
72-year-old getting drafted. That's funny.
I'd want Morgan Shepherd on my drafting my committee though. Where because he's been around, he can help me pick good talent. First skill, driver talent, biggest upside. Well, I'll say biggest upside. Christopher Bell all around would be my pick. We definitely can't get too far ahead of ourselves. Eric Jones made that 20 car look outstanding too in the Xfinity Series, and Jones didn't have a former Cup Series crew chief working with him the way Bell's had Ratcliffe for the last couple of years. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. I thought Jones was a surefire Cup Series champion. I still think if they keep him in that 20 car long term, he will win a championship, but I don't know. So Bell would be my pick. Custer's a good one as well. Redick, surprisingly, he's running better this year than last year, which I know he won the championship, but he didn't really run like a champion until the last race. I think that's interesting, but I don't know if I'd put Redick up there. Your point about Deegan is important, but I wouldn't. That's like drafting a high schooler in the NBA. And sometimes you get the Kobe's, you get the LeBrons, where it's like, all right, surefire, we got to draft him out of high school, but I don't know.
TRD is believing in my assessment right now, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Mr. Irrelevant, I don't even know what that means. That just literally means the worst driver in the Trucks or Xfinity Series. I literally don't know the answer to that. Sure, Morgan Shepherd, he's 70. I don't know.
Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL draft is basically the last player taken, in the whole thing.
Oh, okay. Someone who I actually think would get drafted.
Brandon Jones.
Austin Wayne
stole my pick.
I don't know.
Austin Wayne
I'll throw a little monkey wrench into this whole thing. Who y'all think would be the Adam Thielen, the undrafted guy that turns into a superstar?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Oh, that's easy. Ross Chastain.
Yeah,
that's what I was
Chastain.
saying.
Yeah, I was gonna say Chastain there.
See, I'd draft Chastain though if I had a good car.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you don't have a good car, he's gonna get you a solid finish, and he's not gonna tear up the car. He's gonna. He's like an old school driver. He knows to bring it home and get what he can get out of it. Where you have a lot of kids like Brandon Jones. He's definitely going to crash all your cars. You're going to fire him, and then someone else is going to pick him up, and he's going to be that guy who's going to be awesome because, you know, he's had the time to wreck all your other stuff. So,
And
I
most
don't know.
importantly, he's very cheap, probably, because he's looking for work.
Ooh.
Well, and I'd say before last year, people would immediately say Ross Chastain without a doubt. I think it is relevant to say that people would draft him because of how he performed last year. But I'd say before then, he was that guy that was the underdog that was sort of like the cult following in the lower series.
I'd say for my number one pick, surefire, without a doubt, Christopher Bell. And for Mr. Irrelevant, or in this case, I'll say Mrs. Natalie Decker, just because of her marketability.
Really quick, I want to tell something. Cody, yes, I did bring up a Viking, but I also did positively bring up Aaron Rodgers earlier, so there is that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it fair and balanced.
Yeah. James, have you said your picks yet? Or...
You know, Darian, I would agree with you 100% on Natalie Decker as my, like, you know, last person to get picked, but probably would get picked just because of marketability. Yeah, I've like tried to look up her stats and see where she's come from, what she's done. I haven't found anything. I mean, like, unless someone can in the chat can send that our way, I just feel like she's got money and that's how she's gotten her ride. No disrespect to that. That's how you do it nowadays. But you got to prove yourself.
I also like overhyped her a bit, so there's that. There's that.
I heard a rumor. I don't know if it's true. Did she get? I don't want to say rejected. That's a strong word. But did she get turned down from that the W series? I heard that.
Yeah, she's no longer in it. That's why she opened up her truck schedule. Now she's adding more dates to fill that in.
So wow. Well, just, you know, maybe she'll be the opposite of Danica. You know, Danica could run open wheel, not stock cars. Maybe she just wasn't cut out for open wheel, and maybe Natalie Decker will tear it up at the high banks. We'll see.
Who's number one though, James? Who's number one?
You know, I would have to say Florida man Ross Chastain, in my opinion, just because, like I said, he's reliable. If I had to go with anybody else, someone that's really surprised me a lot so far this season, Tyler Redick. He's cleaning his act up. He's that personality. He's always on social media. I mean, he wore that wig and dressed up like Dolly Parton. He really showed himself at Bristol to me. I like the way he stood up to Bob Pockrass when he was like, "So do you even know who Dolly Parton is?" And he just was like, "Yeah, obviously I have ears. I've listened to Dolly Parton," and I'm glad he showed that personality. It made me like him even more. And, you know, just hearing how he's grown up and matured and become a more clean driver and more of a focused driver trying to complete the whole race, seems like he's really matured. I definitely want him on my team.
Yeah, absolutely. So really quick, Jarrett, you have some other topics and stuff. Let's do some a little rapid fire now. Go ahead, man.
All right, so Dale Jarrett this weekend will be joining MRN for the Talladega broadcast, so that should be something interesting. I know a lot of people on the old Reddisphere were not exactly happy with that one, but
why? I like his commentating.
Apparently, is not good enough for MRN, but at the same time, Dave Modi is.
Yeah. Not exactly a high bar to shoot for. Come on, guys.
Anyway, but I like Dale Jarrett. I think he'll do really well this weekend. Some other news: Kyle and Samantha Busch were on the Today Show to promote IVF awareness, which is in vitro fertilization awareness. If for many who might not know, that's I believe how they conceived Braxton Busch, and they also surprised an infertile couple with a $20,000 grant to begin their IVF journey. So that's something really awesome, and they should both get a ton of credit for that work. I mean, that money right there probably changed that couple's life forever, and in one of the most positive ways possible. Going down, Sterling Marlin right now is recovering from deep brain stimulation surgery. He has Parkinson's, so we wish him a speedy recovery.
His grandson's making his debut as well. Last time it got rained out, so I think he's making it this weekend. So that'd be cool.
Let's see. Brad Keselowski, it was leaked his black Snap-on car, and it looks sharp. I wish the spoiler, which is huge, would not have ruined it, but I think that spoiler ruined a lot of paint schemes this weekend. Sonoma Raceway also added a viewing area for the carousel section of the course because they are using that this year. And then Clint Boyer, after appearing on the Dale Jr. download, he shotgunned a beer with, I assume that was his wife.
No,
Aiming
Clint,
it.
did you say Clint Boyer?
Yeah,
No, that was Kyle Larson's wife, actually.
I don't know who's who anymore.
That's his daughter, sir.
It could have been. But anyway, they shotgunned a beer, aimed it at Junior. Junior sent one back of him doing the same thing, and just a lot of people were ripping on Dale Jr. for how slow he went. But did you notice he didn't spill any? Like half the college age people that were ripping on him for doing it.
Dude.
He also made, as Darian would say, barstool storts.
Yeah,
So that's pretty good. Let's
He did
see.
a lot of things. I saw that everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Dale Jr. is the biggest superstar in NASCAR.
He's not even racing.
He's not even racing. The spoiler. I think I sent you guys. Can you share a screen really quick while I'm talking about the spoiler this weekend?
Yeah,
Is
go ahead.
huge. It's huge. No, I was asking you. I think I sent it to the chat to you guys.
Yeah,
If you could.
I'm gonna share screen it.
It's huge. I think the racing's going to be pretty. I think it could be different this weekend. I think it could either be really good or really bad, but I think we're going to get into that in the next segment, so I won't get too into that. Also, last but not least, we have in the description down below a channel called NWP Clips. NWP, short for NASCAR Weekly Podcast Clips. We're going to put different clips on Thursdays and Fridays from the podcast on there, so that if you can't catch the podcast or you don't have 2 hours of your time, you can at least get some of the what would you call it, highlights of the podcast. We will not put every major highlight of it on there. It's sort of similar to JRE clips that Joe Rogan does for the Joe Rogan experience. But I'd say subscribe to that because we'll put some pretty good ones on there. And yes, as Jimmy48 fan sarcastically says, we also have our SoundCloud. So if you don't want to look at us, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't, you can listen to us. Our beautiful, our voices are I guess caramel to the ears, but apparently our looks aren't good enough for people.
Hey, and speak for yourself, dude. Speak for yourself, bro. Come on now.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Y'all watching just need better headphones.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Better.
All right, Darren, you got that spoiler picture set up?
Yeah, I'm about to share screen it. This thing is huge, man. It
It's
is
huge. It is absolutely huge.
This might
and then this
be...
it's the 100th win or 100th Cup race at Talladega. That's crazy.
Can you guys see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right.
Woo!
Look how big this thing is.
I like the little tips on the side though. I like that they need like reinforced like metal there to like keep it from like blowing away, I guess.
What I'm thinking that what probably happened is that they originally had a test and it just kept the plexiglass part or whatever they're using for it kept like bending or something because it was too tall. Like that's what I'm thinking probably happened. So they're like, oh crap, we have to reinforce it.
But what's with the bunny ears though? Like, aren't those the
That's
bunny
what's
ears?
probably reinforced.
Oh my gosh. Ugh. It's
See,
so big.
now what I'm thinking about for the racing, what this might do, it might maybe punch a bit of a bigger hole in the air, maybe.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think between the tapered spacer and this, I think it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot more trouble if you get out of the draft. Oh wait, share screen again just so you can show the what it was inspired by. That picture I sent. I sent you what it was inspired by.
Oh wait, you did? Wait,
Yeah,
in the chat.
Next one down. There it is. That's the inspiration
Yeah.
for it.
It's very Ricer for sure.
Oh my gosh. What is that? What is that, man?
That's like a Japanese car,
Oh.
if I'm not mistaken, Jared.
Yep.
That's like a style in Japan. I'm not sure exactly what style it is, but
Yeah.
Yes. Leave it to the Japanese to make bigger spoilers.
They're all, I mean, I immediately I saw that spoiler and I thought Need for Speed and Fast and Furious. That's immediately what I thought. And then I also started thinking of the old like petty ones from I think '71 where they had those giant ones on the back. But yeah, I mean, I think this is gonna be something that 5-10 years from now, newer fans will look back on and go, "Wow, that's something." What were they thinking that time?
Oh, obviously.
Danny B may be able to make it. Other White Castle, but don't bank on it. I guess I'd say.
Yeah.
I know he was in the chat earlier. We didn't get to get back to him, but yeah. So he's busy right now. But if he can make it, he will. So maybe we'll get a Danny B cameo at the end. Only man that can cameo on his own podcast.
Right on, man. Is there anything else, Jared, or that does about?
I'm looking at it, and I'd say what we got left is
You mentioned 100 races though.
review,
Didn't
and
you?
then 100 races.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So with it being an off week, the show is gonna be a little bit shorter. So let's get right into picks, guys. So Jarrett, start us off. Who's gonna suck at Talladega?
Who's gonna suck? Well, I'll say it's somebody I've talked about earlier in the podcast. No, it's not Haley Deegan. I know that's gonna become a meme that Jarrett brings Haley Deegan up, but no. But I have a number for you guys, and I want any of you who might know who it is to try and guess what's significant about this number. 23. Now it has to be NASCAR related, not Michael Jordan here.
Spencer Gallagher won last year in the 23.
Alex Bowman used to drive the 23. Is that
It's
what
not
we're
Alex Bowman, but that's a really good one that I didn't think of.
Ricky Rudd has 23 wins. That's all I got.
Gray Galding ran the 23 last year. There you
Okay.
go.
23 is for the best finish Martin Truex Jr. has had in the last 5 races. I think Truex is going to suck because in the last 5 races, his highest finish is 23rd, and he's, I think, had 3 DNFs in that time.
Damn.
And I don't see him really changing much on that. If he does, I'll be impressed. But he's proven me wrong earlier this year. But until then, I say Truex is going to suck.
If he can win a short track, he can win anything. So
He's never won a plate race before.
Yes. Let the media overhype that. Eric, who's gonna suck?
I got to go with Kyle Larson, which I hate to say, but he's struggling, and I don't think super speedway tracks are definitely. I shouldn't say I don't think. I know they're not his cup of tea. I don't see them riding, getting on the right track this weekend. But with this aero package, we don't know what to expect. Some people say it could be 2-car tandem, and if so, he's got a good drafting partner. If that's the case, so we'll wait and see. But I'm going to go with Larson.
James?
I don't know. I haven't heard much from Roush actually. At Daytona, the Fords were fast. Roush was decent, but I don't know if they've really got that speed that we've come to expect from them, especially at super speedways. You know, maybe they've been bouncing ideas off of the other Ford Performance alliance with Penske and Stewart-Haas, but you know, Roush to me is like the third wheel on the Ford campaign, and it's kind of hard to be the third wheel when everyone else is running so well, especially at Talladega and how Stewart-Haas did last year. So, you know, Newman and Stenhouse to me seem like they're going to be out to lunch on Sunday.
Yeah, speaking of Roush, they're doing pretty good this year. Too good, so they eventually have to suck sometime. So Ryan Newman, he's gonna suck this week. That's gonna be my pick. He has a history of flipping on at plate tracks. Well, you can't really call them plate tracks now. So what do you call them? Like super speedways.
Super speedways.
Yeah, super
I'm starting to drill
speedways.
that in my head. I'm doing a good job of it.
Yeah, super speedways.
So-
I mean, so yeah, Ryan Newman, he's gonna suck this week.
I've got a nice. He won't be here in physical form, but cameoing in text form as Danny V wants me to give some of his picks for this weekend. So his suck pick is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He's going on the Roush hate train.
Wow.
And that one surprises me. I honestly, the Roush stuff kind of surprises me too, just because of how good they've been. But I can see definitely where you guys are coming from. And then I'll give the rest of his picks as we go.
All
To
right.
let it
All
fall in
right.
full.
So underdogs. Jarrett, who's your underdog?
Underdog. All right. So another significant number from the last 5 races is 3, and it's not where they finished. I'm not gonna do the whole what's this mean? You guys say it. 3 is the number of top 10s in the last 5 races that David Ragan has had. He's in the entry list, correct? Because I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure. I was like 99% sure. Just want to be 100. I think David Ragan is a dark horse this weekend. He won in 2013, I believe, and he's always been better at plate tracks than a majority of other racetracks. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't, aside from being in a big one, why he wouldn't be a dark horse pick. And this is one of the few tracks where he can be that dark horse pick. So look for front row to try and make a little bit of a run at making the playoffs if they can this weekend at Talladega.
Mm-hmm. I think back to, I remember, AJ Allmendinger got that one win at Watkins Glen way back, whatever it was, 2014, I think. And then every year afterwards, they hyped him up every time we went to a road course. And more often than not, he found a way to blow it. And he would one race he blew a transmission. It was all his own fault. You know, he just found ways to lose at Watkins Glen, Sonoma. Compare that to David Ragan, who got that win at Talladega in 2013. He has a win at Daytona in 2011 with the 2-car tandem. Ever since then, we always talk about David Ragan and Front Row Motorsports when they get to these plate tracks, and more often than not, he's still there in the top 5, top 10. I think Daytona 500 was it McDowell up in the top 5, another Front Row Motorsports car.
Yeah.
You stole my pick, Jarrett. Yeah, I got to go with David Ragan as well as my underdog. He always finds a way here, and obviously with the big one, anything can happen. But assuming he dodges that, he'll be in the top 10. And if he has 2 teammates this year, last year he only had 1 teammate, so he has extra drafting help potentially. We'll see. But yeah, that's my underdog pick as well.
James?
You know, it would to me, Hendrick guys are underdogs a little bit at this Talladega event, but no more than William Byron. William Byron impressed me a lot at Talladega last year. I saw how he was able to break through the pack, find a way to be single file, run and cruise, and he's definitely gained more respect. He doesn't have those yellow stripes on his bumpers, so look for William Byron to be a strong contender. You know, he'll be a force in the Chevrolet Brigade, which is not going to be all Hendricks or all Chip Ganassi. You know, the Chevys are going to find each other and they're going to try to run with each other.
I'm going to go with Ryan Preece here. Looking back at this year's Daytona 500, got a top 5 finish, avoided a gazillion wrecks towards the end there in the Daytona 500 that would not end. So I'm going to go with Preece here.
I'm surprised nobody picked De Benedetto out of us. Now, okay, we still have our race win pick, so I guess I won't get too ahead of myself.
Yeah, maybe. Someone might pick a win.
Well, I figured somebody would use an underdog pick on De Benedetto.
Danny B did not use De Benedetto, but he used somebody else who's I'd consider an underdog, even though his great as Danny B put. There we go. There's my Freudian slip. But underdog is Menard. Great runs at Daytona make him my favorite underdog. I'd go. That's good.
Yeah.
I think he'll do pretty good. Oh, and he says he's also watching, so everyone be on your best behavior. we can't keep trash talking him.
All right. Yeah, we'll just do that after. Anyways, moving on. So the main event, race win picks. Jarrett, who's going to win this weekend at Talladega?
The big one. No. No, I was looking back. Again, I like to look back at the last 5 races. I think for the most part, the racing is going to be pretty similar. I just think, in my opinion, it's probably going to be a lot easier to fall off the draft. But, I mean, the last 5 races, I believe one guy has finished in the top 10 all 5 times. He's had 3 top 5s, and he won the last one here. Eric Almirola, I'd say, should be the favorite going into this race.
I'm going to go a little bit outside the box, and I don't remember which one of you guys picked him as your suck pick, but I know one of y'all did. Martin Truex Jr., he's never won at Talladega, and I don't even think he's ever won. Well, no, he hasn't won at a super speedway. Isn't that right? He's won at a short track, but he's never won at a super speedway.
He won
but I think
once in the Busch Series in 04.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is the year Joe Gibbs Racing, as we talk about all the time. They're maybe the best team in NASCAR right now. Truex has a win. Hamlin and Busch have 5 wins combined. We saw how strong Toyota was at Daytona. I mean, they finished 1, 2, 3. De Benedetto led the most laps. I think he's got, one of the top 3 or 4 cars this weekend. Martin Truex Jr., he's finished second at Daytona twice just in the last couple of years that I can remember off the top of my head. So he definitely can run restrictor plates when things go well. I don't think it's going to be so much Truex is just an amazing plate racer or anything. I just think his car is so good, and I'm just going to ride the momentum of him snapping that short track streak last week or 2 weeks ago. I think he snaps, and just Rick Allen's over there like salivating, waiting for NBC to get the broadcast so he can bring up that Truex has never won at a super speedway, and now that he's going to ruin that for him right here this weekend. So I'm going to go with Truex.
Hey, really quick, I'm not going to say it right now. I'll wait till after the picks, but there's a little of breaking news on the Fox Sports front. So I'll say that. I have it up here, so I'll say that after the picks.
Oh, goodness.
I saw it in the chat, so I can't remember who put it in there, but thank you for notifying us.
All right, Jarrett. Wait, hold on. Did you pick already?
Yeah, I picked.
Oh, okay. Sorry, short memory. Anyways, James, who's gonna win?
It's hard to fight Penske, and one Penske driver I've got to go with is Joey Logano. He won this race last year. He's very strong in the spring races at Talladega. He knows how to get his way to the front and just play the draft. His team is strong enough to keep him up there. Say if things stay green flag, he's not going to lose the draft because of pit stops or anything occurring like that. They're very solid. I just got to feel like there's a Ford dominance still, at plate races. I feel like they just have a way of calling each other Monday morning and be like, hey, we're going to run this plan and this is what we're going to do. And everybody abides by it. So it's kind of hard for me to not say Joey Logano and Team Penske.
Very good pick.
Yeah, good pick. All right, so
And now he wrecks and finishes dead last.
One can only hope. I'm not just joking. Just joking.
All right, so for my pick, he's technically a Penske driver. Penske and Joe Gibbs have been on a tear. So I think another Penske car will win. This happens to be one of the related Penske cars. Get hard for Menard this weekend, guys, because he's going to score his second career win. He's going to lock his way into the playoffs. He's been running pretty decent. In last year's spring race, he even won a stage. I think it was the second stage he won as well. So he has one career stage win. And
He almost won the Clash.
Yeah, exactly. He almost won the Clash, but I mean, then again, they weren't really racing. It seemed like, anyways, just going single file.
He qualified there, I think by random draw actually. So that was basically.
Yeah. So I definitely think he can get it done. He's currently 16th in the standings. He's only 1 point ahead of Eric Jones, and what better way to make the playoffs than to lock your way in already? So Paul Menard, that's my pick. Yep, get hard for Menard.
I'm good, thanks.
All right.
So that's just a little away from that. So Danny has a similar thought to you guys of sticking on that Penske train, but it's not the one. I think it's probably the least likely one that people would think of when they think, oh, Penske driver doing well at Talladega. He's going to go with Ryan Blaney for the win. So Ryan Blaney is Danny's pick to win at Talladega.
That'd be a fun one.
And then
What's the breaking news?
The breaking news.
Breaking
So,
news.
From Adam Stern, Fox Sports says that it will debut the most advanced camera-equipped drone it has ever used on air this weekend for NASCAR's live action at Talladega. The Free Fly Systems Alta has the Free Fly Systems Alta 8 that has 5-axis camera stabilization.
Didn't the last one break at Charlotte? And it freaking...
No, that was not. No,
That was a cable cam.
Oh.
This one's free flying. So if they lose connection or power, it'll just fly onto the track. I don't know.
Fly onto the track on the final lap and just cause the big one. Oh. Amazing.
Do you remember that one time in NASCAR history when that drone came on the back straightaway and crashed the whole field and Jeffrey Earnhart won? I remember that race.
It's rigged for Earnhardt, damn it.
For every twist, there's a turn.
Mm-hmm. You know what this means, though, guys? This means NASCAR's up their budget for this weekend because they sold a lot of ad space, which means get ready for a lot of commercials. This is what they did last year at Talladega.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, first few races of the year, nobody was really complaining about Fox. And then we got to Talladega, and there were so many commercials. Twitter was aflame with "Fox sucks. This is the worst thing." So get ready for commercials on Sunday, y'all. I'm just telling you. I'm warning you now.
Yeah.
A quick word from Duracell.
Yeah, for like the upteam time.
I hate it when my normal binging of commercials gets interrupted by NASCAR races.
I know.
Yeah.
And now they're gonna have drones. If I wanted to watch drone racing, I'd go watch the actual drone racing league.
They have that.
Jeez.
There's a league?
Yeah, there is. Have you seen it? I've seen them on like ESPN before.
ESPN's going hard into it. They've invested all of it.
They go like a high school gym and trick it out with like hoops and stuff and fly these like little neon drones everywhere. It's crazy.
I actually now I do remember that because I remember ESPN wrote an article because it was right after they got rid of NASCAR on there, and they said this new drone racing series will overthrow NASCAR in 10 years. I was like,
what? Wait, that was real? That was real?
Yeah. It was global too. They had like exotic locations they would go to for these like races. I mean, man, more power to ESPN. You got to invest into something.
Hey, if Larson wants to leave NASCAR instead of Outlaws, he can go drone racing. There you go. He'd be a star.
Nah.
Nah, he'd still wreck there. So
do they race on dirt with those drones?
He wishes. He wishes.
Oh my
race
God.
over the dirt.
The first comment to Adam Stern's tweet is from Justin Haley. that thing's for sure gonna crash and go right into my radiator. Well played, Justin Haley.
Hey, it's Justin Haley's first start of his career. He can't have anything go wrong.
Watch
He's
it
just
hit him. It's gonna hit
Caution.
him. Yeah. So I guess to end the stream, like we said, like I said during the intro, no plates for the first time in 30 years. So Eric, start us off. What type of racing should we expect this weekend at Talladega?
I have no idea. I don't think anyone really knows. I know Brad Keselowski said a few weeks back 2-car tandem is going to come back, but Keselowski says things sometimes. Who knows? What we do know, there was a test last month, and they found that speeds were too fast, so that's why they raised the spoiler and also raised the track bar stuff. They're getting the cars up off the ground. They're taking away some of that downforce for this race. Or no, that's not. I guess it's not necessarily true because they raised the spoiler. Well, they're trying to reduce speeds. They're creating more drag. I don't know. No idea what it's going to look like. If you want my guess, I think it's going to look kind of maybe like 2012, where you had sort of pack racing, but the cars were pretty close together. But occasionally you could lock bumpers and push for a little bit if you wanted to. That's what we might see. That's what I hope we see, because that's one of my favorite version of pack racing we've seen. But in all honesty, I'm kind of scared we're just going to see a freight train. I think people are not going to know what the cars are going to handle like. I feel like people are just going to play it safe until lap 180, and then it's going to be too late to do anything. That's what I'm worried about. Maybe the cars will just be so unpredictable that they'll just wreck a whole bunch, and it'll still be kind of at least somewhat entertaining in that sense. But I don't know. Anyone's guess is as good as anyone else's. I don't think anyone has an idea.
Well, I would say wait until practice, but even in practice, I don't think they're going to run in packs. I think it's just going to be mostly like, single cars and stuff like that, single car runs.
They might a little bit. Like, they always run, like, in speed weeks, they always run at least one practice session in a pack, just because it's, you got to know what you're going to have a little bit. So we'll probably see a little bit of pack racing, but I don't know.
I personally think we're going to see stuff similar to what we have now, but I think that, with the bigger hole, being punched in the air, I guess we could possibly see where it's easier to get runs. I would really like if you could be a few car lengths back and get that big slingshot run, because that's something I remember listening to Dale Jr. talk about when comparing the old 2001 to 2007 kind of package compared to what the modern plate racing was. Is that back then you could just go back and then haul ass right past somebody, whereas with the current packages we've had really since the Gen 6, and I'd say also with the 2012 one outside of tandem, is the runs get so lazy. It's like you slowly get up and then they can block pretty easily. I mean, we've seen since the Gen 6 has been put in, aside from 1 to 2 races here or there, that if someone gets out front, they just have to continue blocking, and it's a matter of how well they can block. But I'm assuming it's probably just going to be something pretty similar to what we have now. I hope I'm proven wrong, because what we have now is whelming. Not underwhelming, not overwhelming, just sort of whelming.
Just there, just sort of there. I think I've said this for like the 20th time, but James?
It's all good. I wait for you guys to chime me in. I expect the pace car to not get a lot of TV time. I feel like it's going to be some green flag running, but it makes me feel like the racing will be like the truck package back when they first started racing restrictor plates. The trucks would punch such big holes in the air, and they were so boxy and big. You have these big spoilers now. They're going to punch more holes. You're going to have big runs. The throttle response is not going to be there. That's going to be the unfortunate thing. It just depends if everyone's going to be safe and get on the outside and ride and know that you can't really race until, lap 188, because that's when the money's given out. It doesn't matter until then. It doesn't matter what stage points. Doesn't really matter. Everything is just inevitable until 188. But I hope that pace car doesn't show up that often. I'd like to see some nice green flag running and maybe only stage cautions and no big wreck, but one can dream.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see about that. I know the chat. The chat's saying I'm 7 away from 10K.
That would be me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I just saw your comment just now. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's pretty
chat. Cool. I'm just a member of the chat now, and not even like I'm on air.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Really appreciate it.
We have to get him to pass T-Series.
That's still a thing? Oh, that's still a thing? Oh my gosh.
Not really, but
I
want it to be.
Did T-Series finally win? Is it like...
Yay, it's over.
They're about $1 million ahead at this point.
Oh, really?
Yay.
The corporation won, even though...
Yeah. Son of a gun.
Yay.
Oh, look at Your creepy uncle is back.
Oh gosh, your creepy uncle. Thanks for the $5, man. Appreciate
I
it.
wish I like how he never leaves a comment. He just
That's the creepy part. It's the creepy part, man.
Yeah.
Creepy Uncle Joe.
uh, well.
5 away.
Oh, and
And
also
Dan-
Danny's 9 away. I was about to say Danny B's 9 away now. That's pretty cool.
Hitting that 5K.
All right. So
Yeah.
I think this is a perfect time to end it, unless there's anything else. But I think we just about covered everything, right?
It's been a very fun show so far. I mean, it's been a fun show. I guess not so far. Oh, we're at halfway, boys. Buckle up.
Yeah.
Buckle up, buckaroos.
Yeah.
So really quick, James. Where can people find you on social media and stuff? And I guess just for a brief moment, just talk about your channel.
Yeah, so honestly, this has kind of been an idea I've run with for several years. I finally just started to execute and really, put effort into uploading videos. But there's always creative space online. I've been mainly on Instagram. You can find me at I Want to Believe NASCAR over there on Instagram, and on Twitter at IWTBN. IWTB NASCAR. If you want to tweet me there, I'm honestly not on Twitter. There's just too much hate on Twitter. Instagram's funny for me. I like that a little more. But my content is, I don't know. I'm trying to really get my groove with my content. No pun, Eric. But
My
Trying to
ears
get
all
in the groove. Trying to get in the groove.
yeah,
there.
in the groove.
copyright infringement.
Arr. Honestly, it's just like trying to find like the topics I'd like to talk about and highlight for viewers and things within the sport that I feel like are important. Recently, I just did like a Hall of Fame video, and that was a different perspective. Hopefully, that's a series that or content that is more viewed with longevity. It doesn't have a expiration date like race reviews sometimes do. And moving forward, definitely want to talk about more marketing stuff. That's my background. I studied in college and worked in the industry for a bit. And that's the big thing I loved about NASCAR is the commercialism of it. Ads always drew me to it. And there's something about the branding of it back when I was watching like 2001, 2002.
Oh, the best. The best.
Oh, nothing compares to that. It's not where it was. There is definitely some identity there that needs to be found. And the recent stuff that's been done with Ogilvy is good stuff, but it's just stuff that is good enough to get a brief to execute everything on the brief, and that's good. It doesn't break ground. It's not different. After every twist, everything kind of went downhill as far as messaging, in my opinion and in my analysis of it. So that's something I'm going to definitely just highlight in the coming weeks for sure. So be on the lookout for that kind of content on my channel. It's definitely trying to just research, get more archives. Kind of sucks a lot of these videos got taken down because that was a lot of work that for sure all of us were probably going to look forward to working with, and it's just kind of we're dealing with the punches. But it's been fun to be on YouTube. It's been a long time. I started like in 2006 with crash compilations. I don't remember if you guys remember the YouTube scene back then. It was just like you looked up NASCAR on YouTube. It was just crash compilations.
Yeah.
It still is.
Gotta evolve sometime, right?
It has evolved quite a bit in the crash compilation side. They're a little more extreme than when I was like doing it, but it teaches you about editing at least, and scheduling and having a following. But that was like 2006. You look at it now in 2019, it's totally different. You could do a lot more with this, and for sure, this is something I'm definitely going to try to be more consistent in. It's just balancing it with my work. Working with a race team is, you're on their schedule, and next week I'll be flying out to a track. Even this weekend I'll be flying out to a track. Not flying out, I'll be driving up this weekend, but working with some drivers and just really excited, just trying to turn around content and bring you guys an interesting perspective on the sport that, something you guys aren't bringing to the table that, we can all like kind of share with.
Right on, man. That's good to hear. Really quick, Jimmy48 fan, thanks for the $5. Great podcast, guys. Can't wait to watch next week's episode before my 19th birthday and before I head to the Monster Mile. Happy early birthday, man. Sorry about the Nets, though. Sorry about that. Yeah, oh yeah, he's a diehard Nets fan, man.
Well, he's dying hard right now.
Oh, and also the podcast is saying 3 to go. So, we're cutting it close because we're about to end it here, like right now. So, yeah, I guess that'll do it for another podcast. Really.
Ian Miller says you have 2 more unread super chats.
Oh, I do.
from a lot earlier in the podcast.
Oh, see, sorry guys. Hold on. Let me open them up. Let me open them up really quick. Sorry guys.
In the meantime, Jarrett, can you tell the fine people at home what channel we'll be on next week and possible guests?
Yeah, let me go into the Google Docs deal here. So
We're on someone's channel.
next week we're on Danny B's channel. He will be back. The prodigal son will return.
Mhm.
And then I want to say, let me get this layout right. Okay. So Zach Harmon, he'll make his return. For those of you who might not remember the name Zach Harmon off the top of your head, if y'all remember the one guest we had on when Danny became a stream, who did streaming for money, we'll just be nice about it with Manny.
He was basically a stream hoe. I'll put it like that.
Yeah. So he already said he's got his mayo back. He's bought the mayo. So yeah, I know. I was trying to go around it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna pull up.
Gotta go straight forward.
And then is it Jackson? I believe James Jackson, I think is his name. Is a photographer. I'd have to talk with Danny about that because he was getting him on. But so we're gonna be on Danny's channel for the 1st of May. It will be a fun one, and it'll be before what, Dover? After this, yeah. Mayo is ready, Danny says in the chat. Mayo is ready.
Damn right. So let's look at these final 2 super chats. Coded Trout 4, he asked, why do you feel Truex has become so hated? I think personally, it just has to do with him just winning. Honestly, he's always complained, but like now that he's winning, like fans they find that annoying, which they never found annoying before, which I find it funny. So I just think it has to do with winning.
I think him winning is led into fans not liking his complaining because they like, let's be real here. Fans don't really get to see much of Truex like from about 2008 to I'd say 2011, and then a little bit after that, just because he didn't perform. He wasn't on screen enough for people to have an opinion on his complaining.
Yeah.
So that's why. But I don't think it's going to be a while before he gets that back. He's going to have to stop winning for him to get the fan support for a unanimous fan support back.
Yeah.
Right. So let's see the next super chat. Another one from Flying Gator. He's when will the podcast be released on the hub? I don't know. I don't know, man.
What hub we talking?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm an idiot. I was thinking of a race hub. Never mind. Anyways, no, forget that.
That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
a race
think
hub, right?
forget that.
Right?
Forget that, man. Let's see. The last one, Chastain. He's asking, how can NASCAR be passed from generation to generation? I don't know exactly what he means by that. Maybe
Word of mouth.
Maybe he means in the business sense. I don't know. Like just keep it in the family, I guess. Like I don't know. Ben Kennedy. He's pretty young. He might run NASCAR pretty soon and stuff. So. I don't know. Maybe he has a lot of great ideas. He's running the truck series. Seems to be doing pretty well. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Or maybe they might just sell it off. I don't know.
Danny says, "Guys, stop." I don't know why though.
He doesn't want the show on the hub.
Danny, are you in talks with Fox? And that wasn't really Digger and Friends.
Yeah, sorry guys. I kind of walked into that one, so I'm so clueless. Right now it says we're 2 away and stuff. So I'm probably not gonna hit 10K. As we're he's what?
He's 9 away.
Oh, he's 9 away. So yeah, go subscribe to him. Help him get to 5K.
And links to all of our channels, including our fine guest James here, they're all in the description of this channel. So go hit that subscribe button right now.
Mm-hmm.
That is your homework. It's the easiest homework you're ever gonna get.
And then it'll be on SoundCloud probably midnight. I don't know, whenever the stream processes it, and then I can get it on SoundCloud really quick. And then we got the Clips channel, and like Eric said, all of our channels, and we'll be on not Eric's, on Danny's next week. And 10,000.
No way.
Guess what?
No, you're
No
not.
way.
No way. Let me look. I gotta look.
Refresh.
I gotta refresh. Oh, holy crap.
What's up?
It happened.
Oh crap.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Right as we're ending stream too. Holy crap. Thanks guys.
Golf claps, everyone.
Oh, that's amazing. started this channel on December 28th, 2017, and in just the span of 1 year and a few months, already at 10K, man. It's a blessing, man. Really appreciate it. So that means the next goal is 100K. So, Eric, I'm coming for you. I said that last year. I was coming for you, Eric.
I'm not even at 100K, so by all means, go take it. It's still out
it's
there.
pretty close, yeah. So, well, I really appreciate the support, guys. Means a lot. And yeah, perfect way to end off the stream. So that'll just about do it. I'm now gonna mute you guys at the right time because I muted you guys earlier by accident. So, anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Black Flags Matter. Oh, I keep messing up. I'm so tired. Catch you next time. Cue the outro.
Green flag, green flag. I'll roll.
Yeah. Alright, it's playing. We're all muted. Oh, I was just so tired towards the end. I was like, ugh. Stumbled.